Okay, Q&A.
Okay, so I've noticed that I have like a love of Rechilus.
Okay. Welcome to the club. Yeah.
It's addicting.
But like, you know, I try to stop myself from engaging in it when there's like no reason to.
Good.
But
Off to a good start.
yeah, I'm not necessarily successful with that. But is there something? But there are times when like when I need to for like practical reasons, like be like, you know, having a conversation with someone about something someone else is doing with him, you know, like, you know, so like helping that person figure out what to do in their situation. Is there something I can do to, I'd say, mitigate the effects on me of engaging in that desire?
Okay, so that's a good question. So, you know, just because I know that you've been listening to the shirim, but just for the sake of like learning halacha, let's just quickly go over the definition of Rechilus again. The new and updated edition definition. So this is in Deos Perek Zion. Oh, you know what? I have the whole thing here. Hold on a second.
I like it better than our definition.
Yeah, I don't even remember what our original definition was, but I think this is better. Yeah. Okay, so this is the So the Rambam says Hamaragel b'chavero, someone who reports on his fellow. That's how we're translating maragel, because if you say spy, that in English only implies like watching, but it's really spying and reporting on, like going and like getting info. So one who reports on his fellow, transgressive over below, so say violates lotas shnemar lo selach rachu b'mecha. Don't go as a gossip monger among your people. Monger is a merchant. Even though you don't get malchus on this because there's no action except speech. Avon gadol, it's a big iniquity. It causes many people, Jewish souls, to be killed. That's why it says in the same pasuk, don't stand over the blood of your friend. Go learn what happened to Dog Hadomi, which we did this year. Okay, Ezehu Rachel. Who is a Rachel? Who is a gossip monger? Zeshu toin devarim. This is someone who loads up on statements or claims. And goes from this person to that person. And he says, Kach v'kach amar ploni, kach v'kach shmati al ploni. So and so said such and such. So and so I heard about such and such. I heard about so and so. Even though he's speaking truthfully, he destroys the world. So we went and we learned what happened to Doeg Hadomi, and we saw that basically what he did was every statement he said was true and was not degrading, but because of the context of his speech and the way he presented the facts, both in terms of the order, the wording, and the omission of critical details, it resulted in lots of Kohanim getting killed. Okay, and in his case, it was by design. So what we defined, we came up with a final tentative definition of Rechilus, which is selectively reporting about other people in a manner prone to harm. Okay, and that could either be on the one end of the spectrum, deliberate, like Doeg, where he deliberately wanted to incriminate the Kohanim, or it could be that you're just reckless about who you talk to or how you say what you do, what you're talking about, or what you decide to talk to volunteer. And there's not going to be a clean, rigid definition. You can't have a text-to-speech app that could classify your statement as either Rechilus or not Rechilus, because it's totally dependent on how you say it, who you're talking to, what the person already knows, you know, what words you use and stuff like that. Okay, so that's like the definition of Rechilus. Okay, so the question is, in cases where it is, let's say, mutter to talk about this, or let's say even in cases where you're doing the avera, right? How do you minimize the harm that is caused by it? And presumably you're asking for the harm to yourself.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Because clearly you'd want to minimize the harm to the other person, but or to the person who you're talking about.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think the first step is to recognize that it is possible to do something that is mutter, like you have a heter to do this, but you're getting illicit pleasure out of it, right? In other words, like you are enjoying the juiciness of talking about other people, or you're enjoying the sensation of Lil shonenu nagbir sefasenu itanu mi don lanu, like the power that comes from speaking about other people and like making stuff happen. So recognizing the fact that these pleasures and enjoyments are going on is the first step. And then reflecting on what makes that pleasurable, I think is another, that will convert the experience into a derech tshuva, of like thinking like let's say you feel a rush of like smile, so like asking yourself where that came from, and like thinking about why it's so enjoyable, and then seeing if you can work on that in another way. Also thinking about like the whatever negative thing you're saying about the other person, thinking about whether you partake of that thing, like kol posel b'mumo posel, that one of the reasons why it's pleasurable to talk badly about other people is because it allows us to feel better about our own faults, so like that's another derech tshuva. I guess what I'm suggesting is you convert it into a derech of tshuva. That's going to be like if you're doing an avera, make the avera into a derech of tshuva, and if you're doing something that could be an avera under other circumstances, even though you have a heter here, then that doesn't negate the imperfection. Avera is just like a technical term, but the imperfection is like an objective reality. Yeah.
But sometimes when you're saying assumptions to being used for tissue, it also seems like once you understand yourself better, about what's compelling you or propelling you to do this. Yeah. And also then I think there's like being in a mode of thinking instead of just like being in a mode of emotion versus a mode of thinking. I think both of those also then just to yourself also take away from the enjoyment that you're getting out of it, and will probably
right. That's true. Right, it makes you less in the grips of the emotion, and so.
And I think to Isaac's like if you're looking for less of the emotion there, it seems like that actually.
Right.
Do that too.
Yeah, definitely. I would also say maybe if the other person is, I think verbalizing this to the other person as well, that like under different circumstances this would be Rechilus, but if and then whatever your heter is, saying it, I think gets it both people on the same page and can make it more of a reality to you than just like an internal voice. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Now, Isaac, you and I did this with another Rav a while ago, and this question, but I don't want you to say this, but I'm curious what you have to say. So when we heard it, we were a little shocked. This is about lashon hara. When you see a guy cheating on his wife, apparently it's lashon hara to let the wife know that what husband was cheating on her.
Interesting.
So the question is like, why? I mean, when we heard it, we were like you're saving someone's marriage, or
or you're ruining someone's marriage. Right? I mean,
I'm sorry, yeah, you're ruining someone's marriage, but like for the sake of this person, like why would that be lashon hara? And we were just wondering like what your thoughts are.
Okay,
okay, fine, that's good.
I mean, lashon hara is okay. So first of all, just to define lashon hara, okay, lashon hara is speech that is hamasaber bignus chavero, talking about the degradation of a person. Okay, yeah. And then the Rambam extends it later on to in halacha 5, so it doesn't matter whether you're saying it in front of the person or not in front of the person, it still is lashon hara. A person who says things that will cause that if heard from person to person will cause damage to his fellow, either bodily or in their money, their property, or even to afflict the person or to intimidate the person. Okay, so the case that you told me is all of these things, right? You're talking about, let's say you tell the wife that the husband cheated, right? So you're degrading the husband. You are potentially causing harm to Gufa and Mamono. I mean, not Gufa, I guess, but Mamono, right? And certainly to afflict him. Okay, now, so that's why it's lashon hara. Now, the question, does that mean that it's always lashon hara? No, it doesn't mean it's always lashon hara. I don't know who this person was or who the Rav was, but there is such a thing as a shaila, right?
Yeah.
And so, for example, I'm going to give an extreme example because like this, I think would be a case, I'm not a posek, but I think this would be a case where it is definitely mutter to tell. Let's say you have, you know that this husband is having unprotected sex with multiple partners. And now there's a danger that he's going to like, give his wife a disease.
Multiple partners.
Multiple sexual partners.
Wives, like multiple wives, or like multiple.
No, out of wedlock.
Oh,
I know it's like harsh to even say, if the Soneim Shel Yisrael are engaged in unprotected sex with like people who they're not married to, so that's an actual danger to the wife,
like because she could die.
Yeah, like she could get infected, or whatever. Like that's an example of this.
Okay.
So then, like it would not be lashon hara. Then it would be lo samad odam reacha or something. So like I don't want people to hear this and walk away thinking that like intrinsically informing somebody that their spouse is having an affair is lashon hara. But the default, definitely, then it's lashon hara. It'd be no different than if you saw that someone was doing an avera, and you go and just like tell their spouse like, oh, by the way, so and so just did an avera. That's totally just lashon hara, So yeah, that's why it's lashon hara.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very it was just like on one hand it's like it's a really an emotional thing.
Yeah.
But on the other hand it's lashon hara and like it's crazy. But like for someone if she did it, then she would be usher to him now. I wonder if that's also lashon hara.
Well, that's a good question also, is like I don't know when the we read a tshuva of the Rambam where in this week where like someone basically said that there's this woman who accused a guy of committing adultery with her. I think it was adultery, and there were no witnesses, and like she was clearly doing it just to like ruin his reputation and to ruin his business. And like the Rambam was asked, like, does the guy have the right to like excommunicate her, and like what the parameters of that are. So like there are also halachos about, because the case of Moti Shemra in the Torah is davka about sexual stuff, and so I don't know what there are like formal halachos about those cases also, in addition to like these principle-based halachos. So I just don't know the details of those halachos, Yeah, and also I'll just mention again, I haven't yet given this shir, but the whole reason why I went into this topic is not because of the parsha, but it's because of this paper. This is an academic halachic paper by Benjamin Brown, From Principles to Rules and From Musar to Halacha, the Chavetz Chaim's rulings on libel and gossip. And you can see it's 86 pages long, but he basically talks about how the Chavetz Chaim transformed the nature of Hilchos Lashon Hara from an area that was primarily principle-based to an area that he wanted to make into something that has all of the same like technicalities as any other area of halacha. So there's a big difference in like psak on these areas before the Chavetz Chaim and after the Chavetz Chaim. And he does deal with cases like this. Like, let's say, like, I would have thought that if, let's say I know that one of your business partners is like engaging in some sort of like theft, I would have thought that like vadai, I could just tell you about it, but the Chavetz Chaim, from what I understand, has parameters for which like you are and aren't allowed, and what you are allowed to say and what you're not allowed to say, So like there are, especially with the Chavetz Chaim, there are like lots and lots of like technicalities and stuff that need to be taken into account.
To put the Chavetz Chaim aside for a second, like halachically, like do we know, like if you can, or that's
I don't know. I mean, it depends on how your posek paskins. Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, all right, important questions. Yes, next question.
Orally.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay. Okay, so what do you find as being the greatest, if you can pick just one, the greatest benefit for you of being in, or the greatest benefit of being in the YBT Torah community for you, anything for the people?
Oh my goodness. The pressure is on. So I'm going to answer with a gut, because I think thinking about it too much is going to defeat the point of your question. And I'm just extending this introduction so I can be thinking about it, is I'd say three things. Okay. One is the actual derech halimud. And this is not in any order, by the way. One is the actual derech halimud, is that for myself. Okay. From here, I have learned how to think about things in a productive and efficient way. Okay. And you notice I'm not saying the brisker derech, right? The brisker derech is one aspect of like what we do here, but it's not by any means like the only thing, you know. The second thing is the, oh man, there's 4 things. Oh yeah, I know. Okay, fine. Okay, start from the beginning. So is this if I had to boil it down to one, or if I had to pick one?
Well, the real reason I'm asking one is that I'm not asking for just like, what do you think are all the right things about living life?
Yeah.
So I'm looking for you to like really push something forward.
For me.
If it's like 4, then okay, whatever. But
I want to listen to 4.
So I guess if I had to boil it down to one thing, it would be that it has given me the tools, the values, and the culture to live a life of truth seeking that translates into a derech hachaim.
Okay. And
it's 3 things. So you notice how I snuck 3 things in there? Yeah. You know, but the reason why I snuck 3 things in there is like, it really is like the, you know, it's midos, but it's midos in intellectual midos and like personal midos, you know, like ethical midos, and the society, like it is a culture, you know, like, and I don't mean the culture of the physical neighborhood. I mean like all the people who I talk to who have gone through yeshiva in one respect or the other, there's like an instant ability to like connect and like talk about these things and care about these things in different degrees. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah, I'd say, yeah.
Say again?
With what you're saying with culture, I'll say like the value system that just gets implanted into you.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but sounds like what you're describing is like I'd say like a life of those things, you know, in all of the facets of life.
I mean, I'm going to cheat. Okay. Yeah. I'm going to read the answer that I wrote for the website copy. Okay. Because let's just see here about us. Was it? Okay. Let's see here. I don't want to do the program. I want to do the our methodology. I think that's where. Okay, our yeshiva specializes. Was it? Oh, nice. Same shirt too. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's not the same shirt. But it made you look. Our yeshiva specializes in the unique form of Gemara study popularized by Rabbi Joseph B. Soloveitchik, known as the Brisker Derech. Students are trained in the art of abstract categorical analysis with the aim of applying it in their own independent study of Gemara and Halacha. Our Shiurim in Tanakh and Hashkafa focus on the writings of the Rishonim with the aim of defining their conceptual underpinnings and translating the abstract ideals into a way of life. That's what I was trying to capture there. Yeah. It is this approach to learning which permeates the entire base midrash and all of our shiurim. It doesn't matter whether one is learning a Rashi on Chumash, a Halacha and Shulchan Aruch, or a Rambam, the Guide for the Perplexed. Every intellectual endeavor is characterized by the same level of abstract analysis, the same quest for penetrating insight, and the same standard of clarity. In every shiur, students are encouraged to think creatively and independently, employing a mix of analytical and intuitive thinking, which they continue to sharpen with training. Our Rebbeim promote an environment of openness and curiosity in which students can feel comfortable asking any question and expressing any idea. Here at YBT, our goal is to instill our students with the tools needed for lifelong independent Torah study and the importance of recognizing the centrality of Torah in their lives. So that was me putting it into words after like lots and lots of thought. Okay. And then this is also just a really great quote from the Rav. Our methodology, our analysis, our manner of conceptualizing, inferring, classifying, and defining concepts in halakhic matter, the logical tools and systemological implements which we use to analyze a sugya or Talmudic subject for study, whether in Bava Kama or any portion of Shas, are the most modern. It is a total, all-encompassing, all-embracing involvement of the mind and heart, will, and feeling, the very center of the human personality. The emotional side of man, his logical bent, his voluntaristic impulses can all be usefully employed in plumbing the depths of Torah. Yeah.
Okay, so then, and that was then your personal answer?
Yeah.
Okay. So
I mean, no. This was my answer pitched to other people.
Okay, so then
my personal answer is what I gave beforehand, which is, there's obviously gonna be an overlap, but
okay, and then
yeah.
This pitch would be what you would say is outside of yourself, and just like what you think would be the most quote unquote objective benefit of
I think so. Yeah. That was what I was overtly trying to do in writing this. Yeah. Yeah. I have a feeling I know why you're asking, but yeah. Yeah.
I don't have
okay. Well, because you mentioned an incident that where you're talking to someone about this, and that you said it forced you to formulate your thoughts on these issues.
Oh, no.
Oh, this has nothing to do with that. Okay.
No,
All right. Yeah.
I have a new question.
Sure.
More of like life goal money questions. and Torah and what's
Okay.
important to yada, all that
Yeah,
good
yeah.
stuff. Okay. Now here's what I've been struggling with. Okay. I have met a lot of people, just like people within my company who they are super wealthy, but they're also very like strict in how many hours they work. Well, one guy said at any point in your life you shouldn't work more than 40 hours a week, and he's super wealthy, right? So whenever I speak to people, whenever I try to explain to them that there are ways you can build like massive wealth, in a time efficient manner without you working so much, like they still think it's like a problem. But for me, it's like, like you're only having the wealth to support your your mission and your values and your learning or whatever.
Yeah.
But like how do you convey that message without? Or maybe I might be wrong. Maybe I shouldn't be working that much if I'm getting a lot of it. Like, how do you know? Like, what's the meaning? Like, I don't know.
I think the problem it reminds me of when I was first going to go into teaching, and I talked to Rabbi Fox, because Rabbi Fox was the principal of my high school, who I saw as the most skilled teacher in terms of classroom management. So I said, like, how do you get, I think the way I asked the question was like, how do you get your students to be on task? And he said, the first question is the task worth being involved in? And his message was classroom management is a means to facilitate learning. And so the learning has to be the primary focus. So I think here, the question is, I think your question is about like what you do in terms of work as a means to an end, to living a life where you're actually like, living in line with your values. I don't know if the majority of people actually have values, that are that like they're trying to like maximize in that way. You know what I'm saying? Like I think for a lot of people, making money itself is an end, or work in itself is an end, or accomplishment in itself is an end. I don't think they're viewing it as making a parnasa to be able to be involved in stuff that is more important, So therefore, like the thought of everyone wants to be more efficient, but if you're saying like to, reduce the number of hours so that you can, I don't think people have like a so you can in that way, like even if allegedly they do, like even if they would say, oh, I would love to spend more time with my family. Well, would you like, if you do, then why aren't you doing that now? I think that, I'm not saying for all people, I'm saying like in a lot of cases, I think that's part of it. And work is an addiction. Like people are addicted to working or making money or to their own progress, or, like it's an addiction. So. Right.
Yeah. That's a very good first step, because like we were always, trained. I think even in yeshiva, like I'm finding similarities, like you should work such that it funds your learning. Right? Yeah. And so too, like in my company, like they teach us, you should make money such that it funds your mission. Right. Yeah. And the challenge that I'm having when I'm speaking with even some people in yeshiva is that no, well, my life is just working, and once you say, my life is just learning. Yeah. And I should only work enough just to support my learning. Right. But I still feel like they're not really getting it, because they're kind of like the people in yeshiva who are doing it. So I'm not sure. Like the younger guys, like. So are you saying that? Okay, so you're saying that they're not putting enough time into thinking how they could be making money to support their learning? Like no, they're not. Personally, I don't think they're at the stage where they really need to be thinking about this. It's more of like an abstract debate that I'm having with them. But what are the two sides of the debate? My side is what I just said. Could you say it again, just so I can understand? Yeah, sure. Like money is a means. Yeah. To fund your life. Okay, right. Okay? Yeah. But they are saying that no, I'll just learn whatever I need, and it's just I'll just work, just to support my learning also. But they're saying, isn't that the same thing? It's the same thing. Yeah. But when you further the argument, they don't see the benefit and like in like passive income because they think it's a lot more work than just like working on like a 9 to 5 job.
Okay, so this is really more about a particular strategy of generating passive income.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, so then it sounds like they're just not seeing the point, but it sounds like you're not really arguing about values, right?
Yeah, I don't think about it. It's
Right.
more like the strategy
Yeah.
towards it. 'cause
Yeah,
there's,
I mean, like, and there would be people who would say to you the same thing, right? Like, again, the way that Tim Ferriss, became a household name is writing the book, The 4-Hour Workweek. And the fact that you said 40 hours in a week, and he, his whole thing is setting up your career so you only have to work 4 hours a week and then become like fantastically wealthy. So he would say you're not taking advantage of the passive income, right? Yeah.
Sure,
Yeah. So that sounds like more like a much more localized question, not a question on like two competing philosophies.
Yeah, I guess it feels so like out there. Like it's almost like in the realm of impossibility.
Yeah.
Like how do you bring it down?
Right. Yeah. I mean, a lot also depends on who the person is. I mean, like there are people who the work that they're doing, like, let's say, for example, I'm just going to use this as a hypothetical because no one here is in that position. Let's say you want to be a doctor, okay, because you see that you have a talent for refuah and you want to help people. You're not going to be able to pitch to that guy, just make it so that you're only doing doctoring stuff 1 hour a week because what he wants to do, would that be less work? Yeah, it'd be a whole lot less work. But what he wants to do and what he sees his calling is to do this. Same thing with teaching. Like if you're in the realm of teaching, so first of all, you're not doing it for the money, and yeah, passive income is an important thing, but I think the orientation towards, I think when your work is separate from your learning versus when your work is is intertwined with your learning, that's also a different scenario.
Intertwined with the learning.
Meaning, let's say you have someone who is, I have no interest in this, but let's say you have someone who is wants to be an administrator or a principal and to start a school,
Okay.
So you're not going to be able to tell him, do as delegate as much of this as possible to make it passive and focus on your own learning. No, what he wants to do is he wants to bring Torah to many people, and it's going to take a lot of hands-on involvement. So yeah, Devin.
It's not related to Ara's question.
You have something on Ara's question or not?
It's a related question.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
I think it's related to the discussion that we're having. It's about I've been thinking a lot about I've been considering two different things. One is something that is the type of job that I enjoy a lot more,
Mm-hmm.
and another is type of job that don't particularly care for.
Yeah.
Where I would be doing just for the income.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's possible that the one that I wouldn't enjoy would possibly be better for my learning down the line. Not guaranteed, but it might help me set up for having a better learning situation down the line. And so I guess what I'm wondering about is to what extent is what you enjoy doing, what you want to be doing, to what extent should that be a factor in?
Yeah.
I know the hard.
I know I've said this before. You got to get David Fader to give over the in Shabbos thing that he did. When were you also there? You were there?
Yeah, we were all there.
No, you weren't there, and there were a bunch of people in yeshiva who weren't there. Because we talked about that and definitely talked about that there. But my view is if you had the personality where you can be totally fine doing your job that you don't enjoy and that it's not going to be depleting to you, and then you could fully involve yourself in learning, great. But I would not be able to live if I had to go to a job that I hated, and so it would harm everything. It would harm my learning. It would harm my yeshiva das. It would, so even if someone said that you can make millions of dollars, doing a 9 to 5 cubicle job, I wouldn't do it. I don't care. Like that would be soul crushing, you know? So I think like you have to know yourself and know that how much of what you're doing, same thing with like, you know, for some people, knowing that they're making a difference in the world is an important thing for them, you know, and some people, you know, couldn't care less, you know, so like, you need to know yourself. And the question has to be like, what's going to be better for my overall orientation towards learning and development? And this has to be answered based on that, you know, that's my advice.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. I felt like as soon as you said like that it's gonna, you know, about like it being like draining.
Yeah.
I like immediately clicked that. Like I've been finding that I've been like extremely tired after work.
Right.
Where like I think because
yeah,
you know,
and a lot has to do with that. Happiness is a big part of that. Like if you were going to work and enjoying what you're doing and feeling fulfilled, you would come home energized, you know?
Yeah.
That was, I think, I forgot if I talked about this on a Stoic Jew podcast episode, but, and I forgot who said it on which Tim Ferriss episode, but someone was saying how he called it an energy audit, where you, for a month, make a track what activities you do in each day, like by meaning like on, you know, what, April 28th, what did I do? April 29th, and then go through with let's say a green highlighter and a red highlighter or whatever. And all of the activities that you did that energized you, do green, and all the energies that you do that depleted your energy, do in red. And then take stock of like what percentage of your life or your day is spent doing these things. And can you make any changes to like increase the green and decrease the red, you know? And it could be like very eye-opening, you know? Like for example, there was a year of teaching early on in my teaching career where the last class of the day I taught was a 10th grade level Chumash class of really disruptive students that, and I had this feeling of coming home every day, like drained and upset. And then when I looked back, I realized, no, it really, all my other classes are going well. It's just ending the day on that was really bad, you know? And so like you get insights if you actually like map it out. One more thing I was going to say, and then we'll go to David. About the there's also a question of like when I said the statement about like a 9-to-5 job for millions of dollars, if there's also like a sliding scale of like if someone said do this job for 1 year and make millions of dollars, that I might be willing to do, you know, for, you know, so like there's definitely like there's opportunities, which is different than like a vocation or a job, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Like, yeah. The thing I was thinking about is like, it might be like doing it for like 20 years, but then maybe I could like, you know, switch to something that's like where like it, you know, it involves like much less work,
right?
As opposed to maybe doing 30 years,
right? And the trick with that is, look, we all know people in this community who made lots of money and either actually or effectively retired early and are just involved in learning now. Some of them did it in ways where they were doing stuff that was fulfilling and et cetera, et cetera. And other people did it in ways where like they really had to like kill themselves over work for like a couple of decades. And the big question there is, if a person says, okay, I'm willing to kill myself for a couple of decades to make enough money, are you going to emerge from that process as a changed person? You know, like, can you maintain your value of Torah while you're doing that and not extinguish it? And like, that's the old problem of like, don't say that because Shem lo yitipane, right? Is when I'm free, I'll learn. Don't say that because maybe you won't be free. You know, like part of that is either you won't make the time, or by the time you make the time, you won't want to learn. You know, yeah, it's the scariest thing. Yeah, David.
Okay, follow up from the question before.
Yeah,
and just dropping the YBT. So, what do you find that is the greatest value in living in a Torah community outside of YBT, just general Jewish Torah community for yourself and then people as a whole?
And by community, you mean like being with other people who are Jewish and who do stuff like that?
General Torah values.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and say that I'm the wrong person to ask, but that might be a better answer. Is that I think that I would be. There are people who I've heard say that, like, let's say like talking hypotheticals of like moving to some place in Alaska where there's no Jewish community. And some people like would say, I can't conceive of such a life. For me, it's like, where do I sign up? You know, so I think I'm okay, more okay than other people with not having a Jewish community with all the trappings of like the shuls and the restaurants and the like, you know, schools and stuff like that. Yeah, sure, there's conveniences. Like I do want to be able to eat kosher meat and stuff. So for me, what constitutes the community is the people who I talk to on a weekly basis. It's not even a daily basis, because for most of my career as a high school teacher, like my daily basis is being in school teaching and like only on like Shabbos am I with like my friends and stuff like that. But like the conversations around a Shabbos table or with chavrusas, you know, that really is the community. And we are in a world where like you can look, all of my my closest chavrusas, well, not all of them, but the majority of them don't live in my community. And like, we sustain that through, you know, through the phone. And so like, it is less important than it used to be. Have I not answered the question? I mean, Shabbos, though, you can't replicate Shabbos. Like if I had to have a Shabbos where I'm, you know, at meals where people are like talking about frivolous things, or like where I felt like I couldn't, you know, be comfortable being myself, you know, where like I had to like put up a certain image or whatever, that would be, I would not want that. So I guess for me, that's the most important thing for me personally about being a Jewish community.
And then would you have something for not you personally, but just what you think is the most beneficial thing for people?
Yeah, is that is the Rambam in Deos 6:1, which I will go to, which I've read. I still think that this is probably the Rambam I've read the most in Shirim. It's human nature to be drawn in his character traits and his behavior after his comrades and friends. And to behave in the manner of the people in his city, his province, whatever. Therefore, it is necessary for a person to befriend tzaddikim and to sit by chachamim, tamid, constantly, so that he learns their actions. And to distance himself from the wicked who walk in darkness, to not learn from their actions, so that he doesn't learn from their actions. Shlomo Omer, this is what Shlomo says, Holech es chachamim yachkam, v'roek silim yeroah. One who walks with the wise will become wise, and one who befriends fools will be broken. The Omer Ashrei Aish Asher Lo Halach La'atzas Rishaim U'V'derech HaTaim Lo Amad V'Moshav Leisnim Lo Yashav Ki Mitorah Hashem Chefto V'Soroso Yehege Yom HaValayla. Happy / praiseworthy is the man who does not walk in the counsel of the wicked, does not stand in the path of the sinners, and does not sit in the session of scorners, but only in the Torah of Hashem is his desire, and in his Torah he thinks day and night. So for the average person, you're going to be influenced by your society and by the values around you. And that's why it's important to have good Jewish values. And by good Jewish values, I mean, just because it's Jewish doesn't mean it's good, you know? And like, I have long had this critique of many communities in New York, not all, but many communities in New York, that because New York is so saturated with Jews, then everyone takes, first of all, it's very, what do you call it when you have like factions? Fragmented. There's a word I'm looking for.
I mean, it's factionalized.
Clicky. What was that?
It is factionalized.
Yeah, meaning like everyone has their own sect and their own thing, and like you can afford to emphasize the differences. Whereas when I was, you know, growing up in Seattle in the early 2000s, it was a very small Jewish community feel, and like you know, I mean, I know I'm using like a rosy glow, like everyone got along, and like everyone felt when you saw another Jew on the street, it was special, you know, and like, whereas here, you know, Jews don't even look at you like, or at least maybe, I don't know if it's just me, but like, you know, like I said good morning to someone on the way here, and I smiled at him and just, you know, did not get a response, whether I was being ignored or not noticed. Both of them are like, you know, are not ideal. So, and then you also have the problem of like, whenever Jews get together, you get uniquely bad averos and avonos that characterize that particular segment of society. And this has been going since Mitzrayim, and the Midbar and by Rishon and by Sheni, so every community is going to have like vices, and many of these vices are pronounced, because of certain problems in the Jewish community, so like it's a trade-off, and that's where the Rambam says they should move to Alaska, right? When he says that if things are so bad that like you can't help but be influenced or be compelled by these people, then you should go and be a hermit, yeah.
Do we have time for is this related or?
Related.
My thoughts of
yeah, sure.
Yeah, because I think it's actually, there's one very big benefit of working with non-Jewish people.
Yeah.
Is that you get to see like the differences between living in the Jewish community and not.
Yeah.
Like one experience that was actually really striking for me was one time I was eating together with my coworkers, and someone finished eating and they got up and walked away.
Right.
And I feel like like bracha achrona and zimun.
Right.
It's like there's no you're not just gonna leave because you're
right. That is another point which I definitely need to mention, is that a community of just mitzvos attaches you to perfection in a way that you can't get without the community like that, Yeah.
All right, so last question.
Yeah.
So I've been running into this issue a lot in work, because there are a lot of non-religious Jews. There are a lot of there are a lot of non-religious Jews. Yeah. And my interactions with them, and my interactions with non-Jews who know them, it's starting to get very difficult. For instance, there was one non-religious Jewish person, and we were speaking, and she asked, "Oh, so like, why are you religious?" I was like, because I enjoy the lifestyle, and she was like, "Oh, I just didn't grow up that way. My parents weren't like that, and whatever." And I kind of want to say, "Oh, don't worry about it. It's whatever." But like, if I say that, then I'm like lying, because there is something to worry about,
right.
So like, I don't really know what to say.
So your question is,
that's one.
Okay.
Yeah. And the second thing is, now when there are non-religious people in my work, then all of a sudden, like my boss is gonna be like, oh, like he's not religious. Like why is he able to work on Shabbos and you're not? And like how do you answer that question in a very peaceful manner without disparaging them?
Okay, so your question is, when confronted with people who are not religious, how can you like simultaneously affirm your religiosity without like insulting them?
Yeah. And
then how do you justify your religiosity to someone who doesn't have that value and sees other Jews who don't have that value?
Yeah.
That's a good question. Good questions. Yeah. I mean, I feel like in America, it's very easy to do the second one, because you could say like that's my religious practice, and like I have a right to do that, and you can't question it, like you don't have to say it in those words, but like there is this guy is not going around like asking Muslims the same question, at least I hope not, the first question is more difficult though. I think the way we had a discussion about this earlier, and I think the way that you answered the question is a good way, which is that you are making a statement about yourself and what you get out of Judaism, and it is a true statement.
Yeah.
And like that's all you can do is like you can exemplify a Torah life, and you don't have to comment on other people's lives, but like as long as you are a model. You got to remember also, Kiddush Hashem and Chilul Hashem are for Jews, are for other Jews. Right, like what determines whether you're doing a Kiddush Hashem Barabim or Chilul Hashem Barabim is not whether there are non-Jews present. There could be thousands of non-Jews present, but what defines it as Barabim or not is, are there 10 Jews? So like, not that you should not care about non-Jews, but like it's for so you just have to like be that kind of person where like let's end off with the Rambam in Yesodei Torah, chapter 5, last halacha. So this is the third category of Chilul Hashem and Kiddush Hashem, which is V'yesh Devarim achirim shein bichlal chilul Hashem. I should share the screen. There are other things included in chilul Hashem. A person who is great in Torah and well known for piety or for extra righteousness, he does things that make people complain about him, even though they're not sins. He has desecrated the name. He buys something and doesn't pay for it immediately. And he has the money. And so the sellers have to like chase after him, and he avoids them. Or he is excessive in like joking in an inappropriate manner, or eating and drinking with Amei Haaretz and among them. Or he doesn't speak nicely with people, gently with people. And he doesn't greet them cheerfully. Ella balk tata vakas, he's contentious and angry, and things like that. All according to the greatness of the chacham, he needs to be meticulous with himself and act beyond the letter of the law. So it's a sliding scale.
It's funny saying it all. It has to be, greater. Is equal to his
level, yeah, right. And that's relative to your society, right? If you're the only Jew in a non-Jewish environment, then you are going to be viewed as like the white guy who represents Judaism and is and is held to like a different standard. Yeah. Likewise, now here's the positive. If the chacham is particular with himself, and he speaks gently with people, and he gets along with them, and he greets them cheerfully, and he is insulted by them and he doesn't insult back. He honors them even for the people who treat him lightly, and he does business faithfully. And he doesn't spend a lot of time with the Amei Haaretz and sitting with them. And he's only seen constantly involved in Torah, wrapped in tzitzis, crowned with tefillin, and he does all of his actions beyond the letter of the law, provided that he doesn't distance himself and like alienate other people. Or yishtonim literally means to make himself desolate, but like he's not like standoffish. And he does all these good things to the point where everyone praises him, and loves him, and desires his actions. Now, I think what that means is they desire to emulate his actions. That person has sanctified the name of God. But that's what it means in Yeshayahu when it says, he said to me, my servant, you Israel are my servant, through whom I am glorified. So like exemplifying Torah in a good light is like, I think what you should do. And you don't need to comment on their lifestyle. Okay.
So why do I feel like I have to?
So that's a good question to ask. Part of it could be because, you need to ask, like, is it coming from like a desire to convert them? And where is that coming from? Does it have to do with insecurity in your own, your own lifestyle? Does it come from like envy that they get to live a non halacha lifestyle and you have to be about my halacha? So that takes some thought. Yeah. Okay, let's stop for today. All right. Good Q&A.
Thank you.